then I'ma get it. You know I be on the way. Yeah.
What's up, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Ride the Rebellion podcast. I'm Drew Hall, and with me today is the king of the South Alabama Turndown, the legend of Primal's Primal, the only man, well, I don't know. He recently turned down a, what is it called? Berm to berm jump. Dale Boyd of Addy. Apparently, if you hire him onto your commercial, you win awards. Dale Boyd.
Man, that's quite another fantastic intro. You're getting good at this, or bad. I don't know. Whatever. You're getting
I'm just trying to tee you up so that you'll get a bunch of grip work and be like, listen, man. There's a movie. I don't know if you've ever seen. There's a movie called Bowfinger that has.
I have seen Bowfinger.
Yeah. You're like the Mexicans at the beginning of it. They go. He's like, get the best crew money can buy, and he gets a bunch of Home Depot Mexicans, and then after a while, like at the end of the movie, they answer the phone like Scorsese, and then they're like working on big movies. That's you.
Well, our last guy, our little nephew.
Yeah,
he left us.
Yeah, he blew up.
Shout out Noah.
Shout out Noha. One thing that we forgot to do that's pretty important is happy birthday, Dale.
You too, Drew. Happy birthday, my friend.
The podcast is now, how many, 3 years old?
2.
No, I think it's 3.
No, it's 2. It's just
sure?
2. Yeah. It feels like 3.
Definitely. Some of these days when we're tired, it definitely feels like 3. Yes.
2 years, though. That's impressive.
Consistent.
There's a lot of things that haven't lasted 2 years, like most of the people that rode with us.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
We've either run them off or we just got new friends.
No, it's true. There's been a lot that's happened over that course of time. Lots of fun things, different changes. Summit Bike Academy used to be called something else, and now they're Summit Bike Academy. So we've seen those changes. So it's been a good 2 years. Part of this episode, we might talk about some of those moments. I mean, there's been a lot that's happened. I haven't really thought about it because you just live in your life.
I haven't thought about it either till just now.
Yeah.
Like thinking about our first few episodes in a closet with no video.
Right.
Like you guys, we were in a closet.
No, it was 100%. It was the tiniest.
And now
office.
we came out of a closet.
Yeah, right. And now we're in this nice, luxurious
Still
wood
married.
paneled studio. Still married. Luxurious wood panel studio, sporting all white jerseys.
That's right.
The pink is nice on it.
It does. It gives it a nice little inclusive touch.
So if you can see, Dale is wearing our inclusive touch. Dale is wearing our inclusive, exclusive and inclusive Ride the Rebellion jersey, limited edition. We talked about maybe, we think these turned out pretty well. We talked about maybe purchasing some more. So
Depends.
You guys can take a look. Yeah.
We'll see how the demand goes.
Right.
Well, we are the bike industry.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of that too.
Yep. That was a circle back.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And then I'm rocking a Pro Cycle jersey. There it is, the Pro Cycle jersey. But this is an artist that you can look behind Dale. You can't really see it.
Can we get it?
Nope.
Yeah. Nope, it's too far.
It's too far.
Maybe.
No. Nope, you can't see it. But you guys may have seen it before. The door, 2 doors in our office were painted by this gentleman named Brian Tan, I believe is his last name. Anyway, you can follow him on Instagram. He made this custom jersey. Like, he's a local guy that just does these crazy things. And he made this custom jersey for Pro Cycle. I love his work. Obviously, I paid him to paint 2 of my doors that way. The fact that they have a jersey just makes me even more happy. So I'm rocking the Pro Cycle jersey. If you want to get it, head over to Pro Cycle, who's also one of our sponsors. And speaking of sponsors, Toby was just in town not too long ago, and I saw that it looked like they had a good time. Did you get a little after action report from that event?
No, because Toby and I were just talking about food. I mean,
he must have been hungry.
No, I was getting food advice. So not only can you go to Summit Bike Academy.
Oh, you're doing some training.
No, you could go to Summit Bike Academy and get some bike skills.
Yeah.
Or if you're in Hammond, Louisiana, he can give you some burger choices.
That's right. You did hit up a burger choice. That's right.
Yeah, I was in Hammond. We were going opposite directions. So he hooked me up with some good places.
Which makes me wonder why Toby and Dale can't be in the same place at the same time. Curious.
I wish we could. That'd be a lot better.
Yeah.
I like hanging out with Toby.
Yeah, Tobes is fun. He's a good dude.
Coming soon.
A dude. What's coming soon?
Hanging out with Toby.
When?
Me and you.
When? Oh, yeah, we have a job. Never mind.
Never mind. Hey.
March 11, 12, and 13. We're lucky to do a video. We got a nice bike video we get to go do with Toby for a project. I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
So we're mixing work with pleasure.
That's
pleasure
dude, that's
with
the
work.
dream stuff.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah,
you get to ride your bike and get paid for it.
Right.
Shout out to that stuff.
Wait, that makes me a professional mountain biker?
Yeah, it does.
Ah, yes, finally.
Yeah, you're there.
My
You're
wife can shut her mouth.
pro level Dale has done it. Yeah, so shout out to Summit Bike Academy. Obviously, they've been with us since almost day one. So has though this guy Aaron and the team over at Run and Try, and they have a run this weekend. So this is dating the podcast mildly, but there's a run this weekend. And is it in support of Victor? Is it
Yes.
like a memory of?
Yeah, and Aaron's one of the premier sponsors of it.
Sweet.
Yeah, he'll be out there with a tent set up. It's at the Mobile Cycling Classic 5K. It's the first one. Victor died in a car accident, tragically, on his way to run this race.
Brutal.
Well, not this race, but at the location of this race.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was literally on his way. That road that you're pulling on is the Victor Birch Memorial Highway now. They
wow, good for them.
So the race is like near and dear to a lot of our runners' hearts. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
Some people set stupid goals and maybe die. So.
Dale Boyd, stupid goal management. So that race is happening this weekend, but Run and Try is the premier sponsor. They've been with us since pretty much day one. Grateful to have them. If you haven't been over there to get fit, it's worth it to go get your proper shoes. Just in life in general, they carry running shoes, but they do have some stuff like I have bought all-terrain type stuff from there that I use on set because I need a little more grip than a running shoe might have. And so we do that. And then we've talked about it before. Nutrition's in there. And there's a lot you can get. And some kind of socks that Dale likes a lot that we talked about last week.
Features
socks.
FEET-chers.
Oh, that's clever.
Very clever.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Man of War Tattoo as always. Very grateful to have Man of War. They've been with us for a while too, and we obviously are very grateful to have Kevin in our lives. I've yet to get the tattoo that I would like because I'm gonna have to bribe my wife. But Dale did get a tattoo, and we don't show it because it's not necessarily indicative of Kevin's work, as we've said before.
It's like a baby age work.
It's one step away from a prison tattoo.
Yeah, really, it is. But done professionally.
So it's with purpose. And then our newest sponsor that's still with us, like ProCycle is one of our teammates. We love ProCycle, so we consider them kind of
pivot dealer.
And a new pivot. Yep, ProCycle has pivots, so you can get this jersey. You can go look at pivots. They're just good people, and they're one of the few bike shops in the area where you can just literally go hang out. I think they don't even care if you just literally loitered, they would encourage it.
That's right. Yeah, just bring beer.
Yeah, especially like if JoJo's there.
Oh yeah, he lives there, I think.
Yeah, probably so. But more importantly, we have Build, Tune, Ride. Again, Dale, I'm going to let Dale talk about this a little bit because he was able to ride at the stockyards. I'll let him talk about that experience. Seeing the store for the first time, technically speaking. We'll talk about that here in a second. But I did want to at least say, Build, Tune, Ride is one of our newest sponsors. They've been very helpful, very supportive. They're wonderful human beings, and we've talked about it before. Jody is a brilliant mechanic on top of it. So not only if you're looking for a new bike and you're thinking about an intense, talk to Jody about it, but also if you need shock repair or anything else, that dude rebuilds shocks like a monster. So just consider Build, Tune, Ride for all of your build, tune, riding needs.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, that's how it works out. So with that said, you did get to go ride up there. So you've gotten to ride at the super secretive, not so secretive, but secretive Stockyards. Is that what it's called?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What's that? I mean, what is that? What was the vibe like from first impressions? Like, what is that whole thing?
Oh, wow. So I actually forgot we haven't had a podcast since then.
That's
but
right. That's my job.
Yeah, it is. We jumped in, took off, went up there. It was actually a double secret planning trip, but everything we do is secret for some reason. But anyway, we get up there and had no idea what to expect. And like just the same with they come here, they didn't know what to expect, right? Right. Could be just a bunch of turds in the woods.
A bunch of jank.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And that's what it was.
No, so up there though, they have a real hill. A real mountain, if you will,
right,
for middle of Alabama.
Right.
But we were out in the middle of nowhere and we pull up and he hosts ACA teams there so they could practice. But when we pull up, there's tons of people everywhere riding. And I was like, oh man, the vibe was really cool. And he was like, hey, see that tent all the way up on top of the hill? That's y'all's. So have fun. And I'm like, oh, so we go up there and it's like secluded. It's dope. Like it's on top of the hill. You can see over everything. It's heated. With if you put wood in the fire, Jake and Pat,
yes,
but and me, I slept through it too. So, but then we hurried because we were like, oh, we got to ride. Like everything's going on. We wanted to feel it all and see what it all was like, and we hurried up and got our bikes ready and scooted down, and we jumped into a shop when we got down there just to check it out. And it's like, I now understand what it's like to have somebody that's got the knowledge to build a bike and also cares about the bike.
Right.
Like you could just, when you go into a shop, and it's not a grand shop, there's not a bunch of like glitz and glamour in there, you know, like some shops you go into and it's like, all right, where's the shit I actually want?
Yeah.
That's what's there.
Right.
Like it's built for mountain bikers that are riding hardcore mountain bike shit.
Right.
And that's it. So we go in and it's like, you feel like he cares about what he's doing. He's got, it's cozy and nice, and all of the things are there ready for you, for him to take care of anything that might happen on his trails or on anywhere, I guess, you know. So that was cool. The vibe of the shop itself is really cool.
Yeah.
And right outside of the shop, straight behind it is a jump line. So everybody's just hanging out on the jump line.
Sick.
And you could come right back and, you know, you're hanging out there. There's a little pump track off to across a little creek on the other side. There's XC trails, and it's just all kind of there. And it's really cool. I thought the vibe was really, really rad.
It's kind of interesting because, like, based on what you guys said, it sounds like it's like a destination, because obviously there's not much around it except for some questionable meats Mexican restaurant,
which is great.
Yeah,
the food was great.
But the idea is like you're going there, it's almost retreatish. You're going there to ride or tune up a bike or train or whatever. And so he's built like a, what do they call a combine? It's like a combine. Really,
yeah, he's kind of built, I think even his Instagram says like mountain bike training complex. Right. And that's what it is. Like there's different trails based on what your skill you're trying to do. And it's kind of what we're doing. So the vibe is so perfect because obviously we don't have the hills and rocks and different types of land that we have sand. So it's different, but over there it was like, man, if I just wanted to practice this skill, cool, you got it. If I want to practice this skill, awesome, it's there. So it's like he's got skinnies and rock skinnies and just everything you want to do is there. And I think it's really cool that we've actually planned an event up there. So
yeah, that's good. Well, when are we talking about that?
We can talk about it now.
Oh, you can?
Well, I mean, I made an Instagram
exclusive. Go ahead.
Well, so just put it on your calendars. There's an event we're gonna have up there. We are hosting with Jody. We're gonna have some of the old same faces from the podcast there. Jody wanted to do something that has no agenda, so there's no, and Eric Hagen with Hagen. We'll be Hagen with Hagen. Eric Hagen also. So it was Eric and Jody and I discussed, we want to do something that has no agenda. So there's no IMBA chapters there. There's nobody there that's like trying to push something on somebody. There's nobody there that's like, hey, we need to do this for this trail or that for that trail, or hey, buy my shirt, except for us.
Yeah.
We'll be
buy
there.
our shirts.
Buy our shirts.
Yeah.
But we'll be there. It's just like a festival like atmosphere, you know, like let's just have a weekend where we can just go hang out, ride bikes, and just be people, right? Like, I don't know, it's sometimes we get caught up in the paying for your entry fee and paying for this and paying for that and paying for this and showing up to do this race and that race and training for this and training for that. And it's like, there's more people out there that don't want to race.
Right.
So let's have an event for those people. And then maybe if we do well enough, we can give back to the community of people that can't otherwise afford it. Or, you know, like, hey, we made enough money here. Like, let's buy some bikes for some ACA kids. Right. Or like, let's do something for other people. Because we want people to share our fun. So like, let's do it through an event like that.
The thing that I thought was interesting when you told me about it, like your debrief, as we always have when we go out of town and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just this idea that it's like yes, it's a mountain bike festival, but it's really a mountain bike community festival. And it's about community and culture more so than anything else, which I think is pretty cool. Are you releasing the name on it? Cause that's part of the Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah. The name is funny because this could be your ticket in. So it is a private event.
Right.
But if you don't say the name right, you're going to be, you didn't get invited.
Right.
Right. So it's called the Jack Grundy Jubilee.
Jack Grundy?
Yeah. So it's apparently a creature that lives in the woods up there.
Yeah. This sounds like a bunch of horse shit.
We Googled it. I mean, it is, apparently it is, but the whole weekend we were there, they kept calling it, they were like the Jack Grundy Jubilee. And I was like, Jack Grundy? What the hell is a Jack Grundy? Right. So of course we're like camping. I'm like, Jack Grundy, it sounds like Jack Russell. Like, is there a Jack Russell's just hanging out in the woods?
Right.
Well, and I go to like do it. Well, it's Jaguar Undy. It's not Jack Grundy.
It's like, Jag Undy.
Yeah.
I got it.
Jaguar, Jag Rundy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I say, so if you say the actual name,
Yeah.
You're wrong. It's
Right.
Jack Undy.
Jack Undy. Right.
Jack Rundy.
Yeah.
Jack Rundy. I don't know. It's not. Anyways, that's going to be. It's September. It's in September 20th and 21st. So
Got it.
put it on your calendars, everyone.
Is that
Block it
Saturday,
off.
Sunday, or what is
It's
it?
a Friday, Saturday.
Friday,
Similar,
Saturday. Sunday
we
drive
did.
home.
Yeah.
Great.
So
same thing we did.
one of the main things Eric is adamant about doing, and I'm not against. I think it's a great idea, and I love it. Is the Friday night ride?
Oh yeah.
That is the whole vibe of a night ride when you have all the people in one place doing one thing and just laughing is amazing.
Yep. Yep.
And Jody has some ideas to hook up some lights for the trails, for the jumps, and like do some other things with food and things like that. So
That's awesome.
Shout out, bring it out. Let's do it.
Yeah,
We'll keep
good.
you guys updated, and follow the Instagram page if you're on Instagram.
And that is what?
Jaguar Undy.
Jaguar Undy?
Well, that's how it's spelled.
Yeah.
Jack Grundy Jubilee.
Got it. So you guys can check that out. Follow the Instagram because that's like the ticket in, basically.
Basically, yeah. For
God,
all the
if we blow this
information.
mother trucker out and it's just jam packed, that would be amazing.
I know. We said, I think Eric might have said there could be like 30 or 300.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
You
Either
never
way,
know.
it's pretty
It's
fun.
going to be pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's going to be good times. We talked about recording, doing all kinds of fun stuff. I think it'd be interesting to do like
We've
maybe
tried
some
live
interviews.
recording though. I feel like it kind of ruins the vibe a little bit.
It does.
It'd
but
be
I
cool
think
if we took them in a little room.
That's what I'm saying.
1v1.
Yeah, we take them to that
That'd be
the
kinda cool.
tent up there. And we'll
The
just do-
tent.
yeah,
Come
on
into
top.
the tent.
Come into the
It's the sweat lodge.
Yeah, okay, sweat lodge. We'll go with that. Yeah, so that's super exciting. That's something we wanted to drop. That's coming up. You've got time to plan, although you don't really need to. That's the joy of that festival. And that's sort of the Jank Fest of this year, if you will. We may do a Jank Fest.
We're still
too,
doing
but-
Jank Fest. So that was the other thing we talked about is like
Yeah.
Jank Fest is ours.
Yeah.
Even those guys agreed. Like
Yeah.
it's the OGs. We'll kind of keep it the OGs.
Yeah.
And keep it that way.
There we go. One of the things, if you guys have not heard about it, there's a really interesting podcast aside from this one. So obviously finish this episode before you run away. It's what is the name of the
Overnight Success.
is the name of the show, but it's on what's the name of
I
their
forget something collective.
Escape Collective.
Escape Collective.
And it's Escape Collective. The gentleman who produced that podcast is also the co-founder of Escape Collective. His name is Wade Wallace. Wade's a really good interviewer. The thing that we're excited about, if you have not heard this, it is basically about the bike industry. And I don't want to talk too much on it because next episode, Wade Wallace will be joining us from our first international guest in history, all the way from Australia. And he'll actually be in the future. So it'll be, we're recording at 4 p.m. on a Thursday, and it'll be 9 a.m. on a Friday. So he can tell us what happens on Friday. Maybe you guys can make a little extra crypto money if you're in the Dogecoin or not. But anyway, Wade will be joining us to talk about it and go over it. So if you have questions prepped, we would love questions. So listen to the show. You got about 3 weeks. No, I'm sorry. You got about a week from this dropping. I need it by Wednesday if you got questions. So scramble through. It is an easy listen because it's so damn good.
It's great.
The podcast is so good.
4 separate episodes. I listened to in one day.
Yeah, easily.
Like if you are listening to this, then you care about mountain biking.
Yeah.
And this would explain a lot of what's happened over the last 3 years as a consumer.
Yeah.
Or for you as a consumer.
A little bit of it is depressing because when
so
you go through it, it's depressing for bike shop owners. It's depressing as a consumer, especially somebody of a dead brand that was murdered by it, who way overpaid for his bike. I think there's a lot of us that may have bought bikes during the pandemic that I look back on now and I'm like, damn, like I way overpaid, like way over. And then there's some interesting stuff that I don't want to spoil until you listen to it because we can talk to him about it. But it literally, there's a bit in there about Shimano that explains everything as to why the lag was there. It's really fascinating. Listen to those 4 episodes, come up with some questions, and we'll ask Wade, whatever the best questions are that we can come up with. I almost want to call him Wade Wilson, which is Deadpool.
Well, and then you're doing that. And the whole time when I was listening, I kept thinking of William Wallace from Braveheart.
Yeah. Right.
So I was like, freedom!
Yeah.
But he's Australian, so...
Well, he's not. He's Canadian.
I was going to say, yeah, he's Canadian.
He's Canadian that lives in Australia. Every once in a while, his Canadian accent kicks in, and then every once in a while, he said some words that he sounds like an Aussie. And it was a very interesting... I'm curious to see how it goes in an interview where he's a little more relaxed, hopefully, and not as formal.
Yeah, because he's doing a real service for the mountain bike industry in his podcast. Like, our podcasts are just dudes smacking each other around, but his podcast was actually providing valuable information.
the crazy thing about what they do is their entire channel or everything that they produce is completely crowdfunded. It is 100% funded by the members of this. What did we say it was? Escape Collective. Thank you. I kept saying Escape Ordinary. It all funded by Escape Collective. So like you sign up for it and you get a bunch of news and reading if you're really into mountain biking.
Yeah, their blog he writes a nice blog.
Oh, it's legit.
Yeah, he's a real journalist.
It kind of reminds me of what Single Tracks was years ago. When they first started out, because even when we were talking with him, it was like they were very much on the journalistic side of things, and they're just getting, and now they're more review, and he said it on our show, but they're more review driven. But this is not. This is straight journalism. Right. They have no product sponsorship. They do not take any. They're 100% built on the idea that they will have non-biased reporting. It's rare that you get that in journalism in general, much less in the bike industry, which is one of the things I wanted to talk about today. That inspired me in thinking about stuff, especially because whether you like it or not, you work in the marketing industry now, not necessarily as much as me, but you do to some extent. How much of it, like listening to that and thinking about it, how many of our decisions financially do you feel like you've made from biking, not based on what someone else near you's done, but that you've gone like you've heard something or you've been served an ad or you've been beat into your head enough, or you watched even UCI downhill stuff and are like, I'm not zinging you on you for Common Cell.
Right. Yeah.
We talked about that last week. If you don't understand why that brand, but like, how much of that do you feel like you're influenced by, whether you like it or not? Like, if you really break it down and go with it, how much do you feel like is on that side of it?
Oh, dude, I spend all my time, not all my time, but time on social media, and I'm scrolling, and you know what I see is like when a brand drops their favorite bike that one of their customers sent in, right? Like, so if I build a new Common Cell and make it badass, and I send it to Common Cell, and they post it on their social media, and I get to see how somebody else did something with a bike that I like.
Right.
And so I'm more, that's not them marketing to me, but it's like, oh, I get to see how somebody else did with their style and that same bike that I have.
But then do you ever find yourself looking at the parts that they use?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. So my handlebars and stem now are because I saw somebody else had build one with it, and I was like, oh, dude, that's rad. And so I did it, and I did it differently. They used a couple different parts, but I got the idea from something like that.
It's the same way. I mean, my new bike, the Ibis, has got mostly P&W, like everything, like pretty much stem. The whole cockpit's P&W minus the shifting and stuff, but all the aesthetic pieces are P&Ws, and even my pedals. And I'm a big fan, but I had bought a set of pedals a long time ago because my e-bike, because I was doing the Captain America joke.
Yeah.
And so I had red. They were the only ones that made the bright red that I wanted, that looked like Captain America. And then they had silver pedals, and it was hard to come by them. And now I'm a fan of that stuff, but they send me ads and I still look at them, because it's not because I'm a brand loyalist. It's just because I've bought enough of their stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm invested. I like their content and what they do. And I've listened to an interview with the guy, and I enjoyed the interview. I just think it's interesting. A lot of times when we go out and ride, there's a danger in marketing. Sometimes they tease this up a little bit in talking about it on the series, but there's a little bit of sometimes where marketing might push somebody not to do something they shouldn't do. I'm not here to talk about what your risk scenario is, but I do think there's some people that may get out of it because they would look at things and go, I'm just never going to be that good. I'm never going to get to that point, because so much of the content is the absolute cherry picked. That's what I do for a living. That's what you help do for a living. We cherry pick the absolute best shot. You're not seeing the 4.5 hours it took to set up one shot. You're only seeing the cherry pick. And I think it's kind of weird sometimes in an industry that's really came from a grassroots world, how fucking fake this shit is. Like, it is absolutely mind blowing.
That actually just made me think about it, because none of the riders in any ad are average.
Right.
And we are above average, I would say, but none of them are even down to our level.
Right.
Like, they're all so good because they're getting paid by the organization to ride for them. But it's the same with golf, though.
Yeah.
Like, most average golfers are not that good.
That's right.
But everybody on a video is hitting straight balls.
Right.
And so it's like, I think that we get tricked. It's the society, dude. Like, I mean, there's a perfect example, and that's what you're striving to be.
Right.
But I think what we're trying to do from this podcast, from a community standpoint, is like break that norm. Like, we don't care, like, if you suck.
Right.
Like, we're going to make fun of you.
Yeah.
But we're going to be there with you when you suck.
Right.
You know, like we're going to make fun of anything. We make fun of each other all the
Right.
time. And like, we talk each other, and like, how good did it feel when you did the double, right? Like,
for sure.
that's a great feeling when you accomplish something that otherwise you didn't. And I think that the manufacturers or companies of every industry are losing this side of this. They're losing sight of like the happiness, not from buying your product, the happiness of achieving something on your product or with your product.
100%. That's where it got me thinking, listening to that and thinking about like the marketing specifically to the bike industry and what I see. My feed, with the exception of that guy that now is endorsed by Specialized, really funny.
Yeah, the chubby guy.
Yeah.
Normal mountain biker.
Normal mountain biker. That dude was a prime example. He put out content where you look at him like, look at this fat ass. And then the dude crushes it.
But he's a good rider, too.
He's a great rider. Yeah. But he also it's like, well, wait a second. That guy's big enough. He has a lot of physical hurdles to get over based on his height and his weight, right? Just his genetics.
Right.
And then he shreds. So it's to say, like, for me to look at that, that's a better example of me being like, oh man, I can push myself a little bit more versus watching Bernard Kerr. And I love Bernard, but now you have Bernard Kerr who's just laying the bike flat in a whip that's just ridiculous, right? Or they're hitting these 60 footers, and then people are comparing that.
The only thing is, though, what you get from that, and the same with golf again, if I can see a professional doing it with the same equipment that I can purchase, I know the capability isn't the bike. Right. The capability is my own.
But that's if you think through that process.
Right.
But what
Nobody
I'm saying
does.
is how many people think through the process and just...
Well, this sport's intimidating as hell, right?
Right.
It's intimidating to show up.
Right.
It's intimidating to ride. It's intimidating to hit the trail you couldn't do before.
Yeah.
So you want something you're comfortable with doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, like I said before, brands have to understand that, like, if I accomplish something, it's not because I have title handlebars.
Yep.
It's because I got the balls to do it.
Yeah.
Or the ability to do it.
Right.
With title handlebars.
Right.
Not because of.
Right.
But that's what brands don't understand. It's like, how often do you market? Even in marketing, it's like, you can only do this with this brand, or you can be better with this brand. It's like, no.
It goes back to the old days of the tennis shoe when basketball blew up. And there's that great documentary. What was that shoe company that was the one that was, they're not a major shoe. They're gone now.
Converse?
No. They were the basketball shoes that, like, they got into street basketball. And one, right? If you guys have never seen that documentary, it's worth watching. I think it's on Netflix.
It was on Netflix.
Yeah. So it's worth watching.
Or who? Maybe.
I think it's Netflix because it's the same one that did like the Logan Paul.
Oh yeah, they do
not Logan Paul, the other Paul brother.
I forget what it is.
The sports documentary.
They're great
so
documentaries.
Good. They're so good. But And One's a prime example. They made a shoe that was pretty much straight up, right? They didn't have, but their marketing was literally street marketing. They went to the street and and it blew up because they had all these guys initially
prior
just
internet,
street
by the way.
Yeah, this is pre-internet. Yeah, for sure. But then I think about when I was a kid, the Reebok pumps came out, and how many of us had those pumps? I mean, what a gimmick,
right?
But the idea was if you pumped your shoe up tighter, you'd be able to jump a little bit better.
Right.
Now, I sucked at basketball.
I didn't wear them to play in. I don't think anybody that I actually know that played basketball wore them to play in.
What about Jordans? Anybody
yeah, but Jordans are heavy. So like,
right. So they weren't really practical for basketball.
No, not unless you're 6'6", 280 like Jordan.
Right.
I mean, we're not that big.
Right.
Well, he's probably like 230, but yeah, we're all smaller than him. So,
but that's back to the prime example of great marketing, right? And so I think about it in the mountain bike side, and then it got me thinking, like, well, what's the problem with the industry that we face? Well, the issue is that, and again, talked a little bit about in the series, but they're not changing. So they're still using systems. So here's a great example of this from a music perspective. I think most of our demographic was around and understands what Napster is. If you don't, ask your parents. That's where we're at in life.
That is where we're at. And if you still have a Napster login, please hit me up. I'll take some free music.
Yeah, or LimeWire.
Yeah, LimeWire.
But back in the day, right? So when we were growing up, we would a CD release would come out. So I remember, for example, Battle for Los Angeles, Rage Against the Machine. I think it was their second record. And I remember waiting in line to go to a Blockbuster Music at midnight to get the album so I could listen to it first immediately, right? And then about a year, 2 years, whatever it was later, that's when Napster and LimeWire and all this stuff really started cranking up. Someone would rip it and it was free, right? So the entire music industry was forced to change. Physical media at that point entered into a whole new landscape. The concept of music is still relevant,
right?
But the idea of a physical media was no longer relevant. And the industry did not change well.
Mm-mm.
In fact, that's why Napster and everything performed so well, is because they're like, hey, we're going to break the mold, because there was a hole in the industry that no one filled. They had been the same since the 50s,
Right.
and they had not changed. And here we are 40 years later. I think we're seeing the same thing that happened after the bike boom. Here we are now. Consumers have a choice to make, and consumers are like, I'm not paying for that anymore.
Right.
I'm not knocking them, but like Kona, for a prime example, Kona's not updated their frames in a long time, right? Because of that, their interest in Kona is very low. So if the interest isn't there, the marketing's not there, the rider mechanics aren't there, no one's necessarily pursuing it as regular.
Right.
And I like Kona bikes. I've ridden one and I enjoyed it. But that's one of those brands that's taken a hit from it. Marin is dealing with some of that stuff too. If you look, there's a lot of bikes from them right now. They're 50% off.
Yeah.
50%.
That means that those companies are on their last leg.
That means they're hurting because it's an inventory thing, because they didn't change the system. And so much of it was built on this old model of doing that. So the reality, So the reality of it is, I'm just looking at it from the industry side. I mean, I wonder, looking now, like I bought a bike that was inflated. I think it was arguably 2x. So the price I paid for that bike was $6,500. It was probably worth $4, but it's probably worth $4. But there was an inflation on it because of all the parts and all the demand and all these bits. And a lot of us went through that. That can't happen anymore because now we're all wise to it. So then there's this whole idea that the bike industry is blowing up. You and I know that is not the truth if you're on the ground. If you're really into this, the bike industry is not blowing up anymore. It's fallen off, in my opinion.
And I think it's partially because, and after listening to Wade's podcast, and the whole series of it, the bike industry, the companies are so detached from what's really going on the ground.
Yep.
They have no clue.
Yep.
And it's because they're so hovering above. It'd be like if your parents just hovered above you. And
helicopter parents.
Yeah, and they just kept giving you what you need to survive.
Yep.
But they never checked on you.
Right.
Like, hey, we need to swoop in here and be like, what are they really doing with all this shit that we're pumping out?
But arguably some brands are, and that's where even some big ones. I know that after our last episode, some people talked about the Fox. I talked about my experience with Fox. I had other people tell me they did not have a great experience with Fox. Fine. My experience of Fox is great.
Mine too.
My experience with Industry 9 is great. But those are small. We talked about Cane Creek.
Yeah.
Those are small boutique brands that maybe still are a little bit more in touch because they are paying a little more attention. Fox obviously has a big reach, but they're also on the ground. Common Cell is another great example.
Yeah.
That company seems to have their finger on the pulse of riders.
Right.
Both pushing you to buy their bigger product to be a downhill style, and not, because then they came out, what was their sick ass low travel bike?
It's a Tempo.
The Tempo. Dude, that bike's wicked.
It is sick.
That's them paying attention. That was them stepping in and paying attention to that. So I don't know how it sold, but that's them paying attention.
Oh, it sold well. The only problem is the headset's stupid, but that's a different podcast.
Yeah.
So speaking of Common Cell, this week I have been talking to my fella again more, and he was like, dude, seriously, I don't know when it'll be here. I ordered the bike, but I don't know when it'll be here. It hasn't come out yet. I'll keep you in touch. He's like, he goes, feel free to email me whenever you want. I'll give you updates.
Right.
I was like, cool. I mean, it's just the customer service throughout the whole process. And like, I can show you my email thread. It's like 15 emails back and forth with this guy, and he never got annoyed, always answered the question, maybe even gave me a little more information that I didn't ask for, maybe trying to get me to shut up. But still, it's a big purchase. It's a big decision, like, he obviously saw that I was passionate about the sport. He connected with it and was like, look, I'm going to help this dude out. Whether he's doing it to 15 people or not, it doesn't matter. Like, sometimes we go into bike shops and it's not what happens. Right. I have always said, and through that podcast, I learned that the bike shops, our hands are tied by the manufacturers.
Dude, my sympathy for bike shop owners is way different.
It's also both sides. Like, I feel the sympathy of it, but I also, sometimes I don't think bike shop owners understand that their competition isn't other bike shops. Their competition isn't other, and Joseph and Katie at Pro Cycle get this. Their competition is be freaking nice to the people that come in and treat them like they're the only customer you're going to have all day.
Yep.
Because of COVID, they weren't the only customer you had all day.
Right.
But now you might not have a ton of customers. So treat me differently that I don't get on the internet, because that's what I'm paying you more for than what I can order.
Yep.
And like, I'll never go in a bike shop and be like, I can order that cheaper.
Yeah.
Like, because I can.
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you that.
Yep.
You know that. Your
Yep.
hands are tied by the manufacturers, which we saw and are seeing.
Yep.
So like I do have sympathy for, and I understand like the bike industry, you're not making a ton of money owning a bike shop.
No, it
I
was
get
interesting to have them say, like, there's a piece of it where they talk about the service, and it's like
Yeah.
everyone's always said that to
Live
us,
on
even
service.
live
Yeah.
on, and it's like that's not true
That's not
either.
true either.
I think the reality of it is, if you're a business and you're interfacing with other human beings, you need to consider that your real product you're selling is that relationship
Yeah,
between
is
you and that
yourself.
human being. Yeah, that's
It's
it.
100%.
And everybody gets stuck on the brand being, and I deal with this with client. The brand is what you're carrying. No, Jody is not just selling Intense. I would go to Jody because I like Jody, right? And if he can convince me that an Intense bike is really going to fit my needs and I like the ride, great, so be it. He got a sale out of it. But I would keep going back to him no matter what, because I know that he cares.
Right.
And the relationship he's always had with us has been straightforward and honest. Same thing. That's where the industry has to change on the local side. But if they took that same idea and applied it on the big level and started paying a little more attention to the ground, there's not just us that are in this sort of overlook, right?
No.
We get it. I understand that the primary low-hanging fruit markets are Colorado, or Pisgah. I almost said Pisgah. They're arguably maybe even a little bit into
BC
Tennessee now, and BC obviously being the big ones, and Bentonville. I get it; those markets are there, but a lot of those people travel in, have the experience, and leave. Wouldn't you want the lifetime value of that client, to their customer, to be more than just a weekend?
Yeah,
more than just a week.
Well, that's because guess what those customers become? They become $800 bike purchasers to $2,500,
right?
To $3,500 to $5,000,
right?
You have to try to make them feel, like we said, it's intimidating.
Yep,
it is intimidating to go into a bike shop. I'm intimidated. I went to a bike shop I'll never say the name of, and we have a podcast about mountain biking, and I was treated like I'm on training wheels, like I've never even seen a bike in my life. And when I said I'm from Mobile, they just like rolled their eyes, like, "Oh, you're not a mountain biker."
Right.
Like, excuse me?
Yep.
Like that attitude. Like, I don't want anybody to roll a red carpet out. I don't care.
Yep.
And they don't know I have a podcast or we have a podcast. They have no idea, but they don't know that. It's the same thing. Like, treat me like I'm the best mountain biker that's ever walked through the door, because you don't know. Right? Like,
no. I came back from Chattanooga and I went into Suck Creek Cycle. I will praise them forever. Right.
I remember you told me.
And I came in, and first thing I walked in, there's a dude there, hat on, like dressed like the regular. So like, "Hey man, what's going on?" I was like, "Not too much, just looking around." He's like, "Do you want a beer?" First thing out of his mouth was, next to, "Hey man, what's going on? Do you want a beer?" He immediately identified, like, "Come hang out. This is how." And I mean, I would have bought a bike from him had they carried what I wanted. They just didn't happen to have. At that point, I was obsessed with getting this Trek bike. Trek was great too, because I knew the guy.
Right.
But if I didn't, I would have been. They're a high traffic store. Suck Creek Cycle's out way off in the middle of nowhere. You got, like Jody, you're going to it for a destination. I went to a place in Arizona, and they were the biggest asshats I'd ever met. I'm like, "Hey, I'm from out of town. I'm riding tomorrow. I just need to get some glasses." And let's see, I wanted to pick up some glasses. I wanted to pick up just a water bottle. I like to buy, if I go out of town, I buy a water bottle. Right. So I now have like a nice little moment. And they were such asshats about it that eventually I wore the guy down because of determination. And then he warmed up and he started telling me where to go ride. But in the beginning, they were just snobbing me out because I hate that shit. It was stupid as shit. Why?
Right.
Especially now, because I could have dropped your name on to all 10 listeners.
You could have had a helicopter, bitch. Now what?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, I mean, I think it's not the bike industry. It's every industry. Customer service is lost. Like, we went to McDonald's the other day when we were traveling, and my wife was like, we ordered from the kiosk. The girls just sets our food up there. No one said a word to us, and I had to ask for something, and it was like the end of the world.
Right.
And I know it's McDonald's, it is what it is, but still, that's what's the microcosm of, because of the internet. And so in COVID, like during COVID, no one had to talk to each other.
Right. It's detached. We're detached.
And I think that we have to go back to the old school way. I mean, thinking like we have to go back to saying, "Hey, who are our customers? Why are they our customers? How can we maintain them as customers? And how can we make them be a tier up customer?"
Right.
And I think that marketing is losing that. They're just thinking, how can we get more likes on our video? How can we get more people seeing it? They're just looking at the numbers and not looking at reality.
Right.
Like, you can post something on Instagram, put a sexy girl on a bike, and you're going to have 1 million views.
Yeah.
And sell nothing.
Yep.
So what's the point? wouldn't you rather like sell something like put a couple of dudes that have a podcast that are kind of chubby that think they're good at mountain biking that 99% of the people can relate to?
Yep.
And then buy something because, hey,
totally with you.
if these guys are riding it, how much stuff, and I love our friends, but how much stuff have our friends bought because we've picked it up or like we've been willing to go buy it and then talk about it?
Yeah.
Other people talk about it. They message us like, hey, what are you riding? What do you care? What do you use?
So the thing about it goes back to the influencer type mentality, and like that influencer shit is so fake.
No, it's
so
fake.
far from true.
So
and I'll tell you, TikTok is we did a video. We worked on this video for free for this young lady we met. She was 8 months old. She got burned head to toe, 90% of her body. It's brutal. And so she is scarred, and she's gone through 40 surgeries. She's now 8 years old. She put out a book. That's how she called us. Her mom called us asking if we could make a video about the book. We met them and we're like, we're not charging you for this. We'll do it for free. I go and put it on TikTok, and I have a couple of friends that are influencers. I ask them to just help share it. They won't do it. Why? Because it doesn't fit their agenda on that side. Here's this little girl that literally needs help, and you preach all this helpful shit, and you're not willing to do it. It's the same thing, because the influencing thing isn't real.
Right.
They're just satisfying whatever metric they need. It's not a real thing. But when you find normal mountain biker was a real influencer,
right.
The guy was out there.
Yeah.
That's why Specialized picked him up, because they identified very quickly, like, oh wait, this guy's hitting a whole different market. He's funny, and he's telling the truth the entire time, even through comedy.
It's really surprising to me that Specialized did it.
I know.
That's the bigger surprise.
Yeah,
like, no knock on Specialized as a company, because their stuff is quality.
Yeah.
Like, their bikes are amazing.
Yep.
Their stuff is good. They have the best R&D departments because they have the most money.
That's right.
And it's like, once you get to that level, they know what they're doing, but they also don't care about bike shops.
That's right.
So that it's like,
it is. That's what I'm saying. There could be something. So I was approaching it from what's the biggest problem in mountain biking. The biggest problem in mountain biking is mountain biking.
That's right.
Right. Or the marketing of it, or that side of it. And so it's kind of like, until we get to that point when we can, as consumers, we actually have all the power, and people forget that. Even the bike shops are consumers. They're selling to consumers. The bike shops now had to learn a crazy lesson. Consumers had a major demand. That demand went away. And as soon as it went away, everybody's left with stuff. So the responsibility of some portion of the big manufacturers is to say, yeah, I know we made you buy all this inventory, but I guess we'll take it back.
Yeah.
But now they're going to lose money. Well, they should have thought about that somewhat.
Right.
And if you look at, like, the bike shops are like, well, I can't move any merch. I can't move product. Maybe don't be an asshole, and maybe you have a better chance.
Right.
Right.
It's like a revolving door of
100%.
Yeah.
They call it a flywheel in business. There's a flywheel concept. If you don't have a good flywheel, then you can't move the whole machine.
Right.
Right. And that's the issue that it seems to be coming back and forth on this side of things. It just can't break it up.
And I don't think, like, we work in marketing, so like we get to see firsthand like some of the dumb stuff that people want done, and it's like, like, we've had this talk, you and I, about a client, and it's like, it's not reality.
Right.
Like, let's get to reality.
Right.
Put down your phone for 5 seconds and walk around and see what's going on in the real world.
Yeah.
And that's that has been my hang up with bike shops, is you're never at events. Like, not locally. Not
there
locally.
may be others that are.
There are other towns there are, but locally it's like, oh, you're mad because we bought our stuff somewhere else. Okay, like, you weren't there when we were riding. Like, I don't need you to kiss my ass. I don't need you to come hang out with me and be my best friend. But make it a thing. Make it a point, right?
Yeah.
Like, make it a thing. Like, hey, we're out in the community. We're doing stuff. I don't have to come to you to be part of that community.
Goes back to, like, Nixon does the shop rides, and I think shop rides are great, but I also think it's interesting that Nixon does beyond the shop ride.
That's right.
So what happens is you get fish hooked by Nixon. He shows up and he's like, hey, come hang out. And you're like, this dude's fun. And then he's like, oh, we should come to the shop ride. And he's like, oh, we're going to stop and hang out at the shop for a few minutes. Next thing you know, he sells you a bike.
Right.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, but that's because you're buying Nixon.
That's right.
You didn't buy Cannondale.
Right.
You're buying that. Like, even, I mean, I did it when I first started riding. I was like, I'm going into that bike shop and I'm spending all my money there because I want to be part of the scene, and I want him to think like, this dude is serious.
Right.
Like, this is how I thought I was breaking in. Like, no, I bought I know him. He spent $4,000 there. Of course he's my friend. I spent $4,000. Right. Like, that's what you don't, it's like going to the strip club. Like, yeah, she loves you. Because you gave her $100.
That's right. That's exactly right. But as soon as you leave and another dude steps up, you done forgot, boy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but strippers care about you as a customer. That's the difference.
I always have. There's always that one dude that takes it too
One
far.
dude
That's
every
like,
time.
no, I'm in love with her.
I'm
like,
in
no, you're
love
not.
with the
You're not
stripper.
buying a $12,000 bicycle when you've been riding for 6 weeks.
Exactly.
Don't do it.
Yes, don't do it. There's one of your buddies has a used one.
Yeah,
Just pick
that's right.
it up.
That's exactly right. You can borrow one for a month, and let's see if you can stay on it first.
So that's the thing. COVID and now the industry sees it. We have seen it because we host group rides and we're in the community. A lot of the people went skyrocket.
Yep.
And then they flatline.
Yep.
And I always say that, like, somebody new comes into the community and they're gung ho and they love it, and everybody's telling me like, dude, you got to meet this guy. He's got all these great ideas and he's super stoked to ride. And I'm like, awesome. Can we talk about it in like 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, and no offense to anybody that's new, no offense to anybody that I've met recently.
It's this is the truth.
It is. And like in 3 weeks, they're not there to tell me their great stories and their great ideas. I would love it. Please, somebody come with new ideas.
Yeah,
and new
right.
things.
I'm with you.
There's a candle. You can take it.
Yeah.
I would love for you. It's not a torch. It's a candle. It could
Right.
blow out at any moment. But just hang out for more than 3 weeks.
It's interesting though, because I think some of that comes with cost of investment. So like you spend X amount of dollars, like $800 to somebody is like, that's so much money.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's guys like us that have, bikes that are 3 times that,
which is also
4 times
intimidating.
that, 5 times that. There's dudes we know that have 15 times that.
Right.
The reality of that situation is like, it's just going to be, it's just a challenge of understanding that at the end of the day, the investment keeps going and whether or not it keeps you in. But it's not just a financial one. That might be the kickstart.
Right.
But then it becomes the physical, mental, emotional, and the things we've talked about, the community, all of those things. If those things, you see investment in those and you invest in those and suddenly you get something out of it, that's the key.
Right.
If it's a one-sided transaction, nobody wants to be part of a one-sided transaction. They want something special. So if all of those things line up, mountain biking satisfies all those, that's rider retention.
Right.
But it was one-sided during the pandemic because everyone's like, I just want out of my fucking house. That's it.
And honestly, all major marketing had mountain biking in it.
Yeah.
If you guys ever take time watching commercials, I know many people don't, but watch commercials. Every auto ad has a mountain bike in it.
Yeah.
Every like new drug has a mountain bike in it. They all have mountain biking in there because that's what makes you feel good. And it looks affluent. Right. Right.
Yep.
Because the barrier to entry is so high.
Right.
But I think once you get out there and you realize, damn, this is hard.
Yep.
And it's not that enjoyable until you're in the parking lot.
Yep.
Sometimes. For some people, it's not.
South.
Yeah. But for some people, it's not. Like even we're climbing for a half hour, like this isn't pain. This is painful. And you have to get over that mental hurdle of like, it hurts. This hurts. The bike shop ripped me off with this bike. It hurts. Manufacturer ripped me off with this bike. It hurts. Like we get all the way to the top and then there's dudes smiling. You're like, why are you smiling? You should all be in pain. And then you're just like 3 minutes later, you've forgotten about what all hurts. Right. And now you're going downhill and you're smiling.
Right.
So it's like, mountain biking is an emotional train wreck.
It's 100% what it is. And in the same way, I train to ride. I don't just ride to ride.
No,
I train to ride. And you and I've talked about it. It pays off. When I go out of town and I only I don't get that much time off. If I'm allowed to go ride for like 2 days straight and I can just go ride, I want to be able to ride as much as humanly possible and enjoy that as much as I can because I may not get it again for 6 months.
Right. That's what me too. I don't want to go anywhere and be like, this sucks. I should have rode more.
Yeah.
It's like,
or I'm gassed out and only ride for like 45 minutes. Forget that garbage.
Yeah, I don't want to do that either.
No. So that's kind of our state of the affairs. Next week, next episode rather, super stoked to have Wade on to talk about this in more detail. Don't forget you can throw your questions. Will you grab the, I think it's that one. Is that?
Yeah.
So
I was also just going to say that
go ahead.
When he's on, my intelligence is nowhere near, I can barely understand half that podcast, but just because I'm not that smart.
Well,
I mean, I get it. I can understand it. It's not over my head.
It's a freaking brilliant business podcast too.
No,
if
it
you're
is. Yeah.
A business person, you're going to take from it too.
But it's great. I just know that some of the stuff you understand more because you're more business oriented than me. Yeah. I mean, I have a ton of failed businesses. Dale Boyd failed business.
That's called being an entrepreneur.
My accountant's probably like, son, you can only claim a loss for so many years.
Yeah, right.
Like now you're claiming $7,000.
No. You can claim forever if you have the best accountant. So what we have is
a pile of stuff that no one ever enters contests for.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do this one. This one's so limited; it's a single run edition.
Yeah, there's only one in the world.
I've had 2 of these jackets. I absolutely love them. They're fantastic. They're mostly windproof. They're pretty much lightweight. What size is that?
It's extra large.
Okay, perfect. They're warm when you need them to be. It has a hood. It wears well. You can wash off the dirt. So we took these and we basically made a Reb only version. So this one exists. You can get it, but we're going to do something a little bit different. This time back onto the group page. If you go to the Facebook page on the group side of things, we're going to start the bid at $15. That's all we're going to ask for.
Yeah.
And just run it up. Whoever gets there, maybe you get it for 15, but it's worth, I promise you, a lot more than that. We're giving it away at a pretty epic discount.
Yeah.
But we're also going to take that. Now, anything, if we get over $50, we're going to take some of that and just find somebody to give it to. We're going to give it to some bike, something somewhere. We'll figure it out. But we're going to give away some of that money if we get to $50. That's where we are with it. So you can help a charity. We'll find one that is specific, whether it's buying kids bikes. There's lots of different charities we can give the money to. We'll tell you guys once we get there. But that's what we're going to do. So we're going to start the bid at $15. If we get to 50, we're going to give a bunch of money away. You want to show it to them?
Brad, when is the end of the bidding? The bidding starts when the podcast comes out, which is Friday.
Which is Friday. I don't know. When's a good way to end it? The next episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll give them all.
We'll get 3 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks?
2
3
weeks.
weeks.
2 weeks.
Yes.
2 full weeks.
2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 full weeks. 2 full weeks, and then it'll be done. How about that?
Good. I'm
Okay.
good with it.
All right, so here it is. Pretty dope.
It's pretty sweet. Soft shell jacket.
Soft shell. It's got a zipper on the side. There's the custom logo that only exists. It's hard to get in focus, but you guys get the idea.
And
That's it. We'll put a picture
got a
up.
hood.
It's got a hood, backside.
It's gray. It's nice.
Yep.
It's
There
warm.
you go. They're fantastic. We love them.
We do.
Gabe has an epic Star Wars version, one-off one.
Yeah, this one doesn't have. This one is literally one of one.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
all
what I'm
the other
saying.
ones have different logos.
That'll never exist again that way.
Yep.
So if you guys would like that jacket, we're starting to bid at 15. It's on the Facebook page. Just keep in mind, we're going to give some of the money away. We got to recoup costs, but we're going to give the rest away.
Right on.
So that's what that is. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
Yeah, if you're local to Mobile or if you're traveling, check out the ACA race. It's going to be at Blakely.
Oh, that's right.
March 9th and 10th.
March 9th and 10th. There's supposed to be
it's Saturday
a ton
and
of
Sunday.
kids.
Yeah, there's like 575 kids signed up.
575 kids in Blakely?
Yes. So if you want to come watch some kids race bikes, that'd be a good weekend. We're going to be out there on the 10th, I think, if the Sunday is the 10th. Well, I'll be there on Sunday. Saturday, I have another event I have to attend, but definitely on Sunday we'll be out there. I know Hagen in there will be there.
Yep.
It'll be like a big group of people.
That's a ton of
It'll
kids.
be fun, and go support the kids. It'll be cool.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Getting a bunch of people in Blakely.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. Okay. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Just remember what Dale Boyd says.
Don't be tricked by your media.
Well, that's pretty good advice.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah.